Chapter 29. The Good Story. And God saw the light, that it was good. Genesis 1:4. God, being an omniscient storyteller, knows every story he imagines in absolutely perfect detail. All imagined stories with absolute perfect detail exist, indistinguishable. God, being the ultimate, cannot imagine anything more perfect than himself, because it is impossible. Therefore, God only creates imperfect stories, as compared to himself. In this line of reasoning, we find ourselves aligned with ancient concepts of creation, where the initial reality was one of chaos, and God, through his divine power, brought forth order from the disorder. Genesis 1:1. Within the framework of idealism presented here, the grand story must encompass the ever-present encroachment of chaos. However, the ancients also believed that order had to continuously subdue chaos in the creation process, with order prevailing over disorder to establish existence. Thus, the dominion of the story becomes a battleground, where disorder clashes with the goodness of divine order. In essence, all stories carry an aesthetic quality due to this underlying struggle. If reality is a continuous act of creation, it is simultaneously a masterpiece, a dynamic interplay between beauty and ugliness, light and shadow, victory and defeat, completion and failure, and truth and deception. Life itself can be seen as a dialectic journey between good and evil, or more accurately, between the holy and the unholy. Throughout human history, wisdom has been preserved through oral or written narratives. From the earliest days when our ancestors gathered around tribal fires to recount stories, we have come to expect and even require challenges in the plot. These challenges can take the form of internal struggles or a series of unfortunate events. Even in our poems, we find inherent contrasts between human emotions like love and rejection, justice and injustice, or boredom and comedy. The essence of these narratives is always about keeping something at bay. We constantly promote or deny certain ideas in our arguments and debates. Likewise, our characters in stories become either protagonists or antagonists, embodying the forces of good or evil. Thus, our stories necessitate heroes and villains, as the best tales revolve around the efforts of champions or saviors to hold back the floodgates of chaos. These narratives reflect our collective desire to seek order, triumph over challenges, and find meaning amidst the struggles of life. Goodness is not synonymous with perfection, but involves a constant struggle against chaos. Merely lacking badness does not make something good. That notion would render any imaginable thing as good, which is not the case. The grand author cannot simply abandon his story. Forgetting or obliterating it would imply failure. By divine nature, the only viable option is a good story or nothing at all. Therefore, it becomes crucial to comprehend what elements constitute a good story in the grand scheme of things if we are to grasp its meaning. Interestingly, God gave the first interpretation of the created order when he saw that it was good. Genesis 1:4, 10, 12, 18, 21, 25, 31. The conclusion was, "And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good." KJV. On each day of creation, something was seen as good, except for day 2, where it is written that God created the firmament, dividing the primordial sea of chaos and building the sky. Leading biblical scholars propose that day 2 was merely a day where nothing was made, implying that good in the passage is connected to completion. Just as it is inappropriate to judge a work of art before it is complete, so it is to judge the unfinished grand narrative. The light was called good, but the day and night were not called good until completed with the luminaries, and the division of heaven, seas, and the land was not designated good until the creation of land where mankind would live. Later, God said it was not good for Adam to be alone. He was incomplete without his female counterpart. Good, then, means properly done. In the mysterious depths of God's sovereign transcendence, one thing is sure: he is good and just. His work is not left unfinished, and everything culminates in a righteous conclusion. History itself is his story. As you open yourself to his message, you will witness the artistry and beauty woven throughout it all. Moreover, you are a part of this grand narrative, a unique story within its chapters. This perspective challenges the notion that this is the best of all possible worlds, as the following argument illustrates. Being the most excellent possible artist, God makes only stories where good exceeds bad. If God only maximizes the good and minimizes the bad, no story can be better than any other. If no story can be better than any other story, every story must be the same. If all stories are the same, there is only one possible story. If there is only one story, our story must be that story. Therefore, our story is where good exceeds bad. The first premise of the argument poses a problem. Individual stories hold little significance if God's justice is solely determined by quantity, as long as the overall good outweighs the chaos. This line of reasoning, initially proposed by Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz, 1646 to 1716, leans towards a utilitarian perspective. While Leibniz didn't aim to promote a specific ethical framework, utilitarianism suggests that the right actions are those that maximize happiness for the greatest number of people. However, taking this utilitarian argument to its logical conclusion implies that this world is not just the best, but the only possible world. Christian theology introduces a new perspective that transcends mere quantification in storytelling. According to God's narrative, a good story goes beyond statistics. It embodies the artist's excellence. In God's stories, goodness prevails over evil. He crafts a tale where every detail matters, down to the very numbering of one's hair. No bird falls without his notice. Every character is deeply cared for, like a father searching for his prodigal son, rejoicing in the found. The essence of a good story lies in God's goodness, shining through even amidst overwhelming adversity when all appears lost. It becomes a story of rescue, where a single candle pierces the darkness. The greatest stories hold profound meaning, not solely because of an abundance of good, but because they reveal hidden beauty and derive significance from the ashes of evil. Amidst the chaos, the grand author transforms it into goodness. The perpetual existence of chaos is an essential consequence of God's gift of freedom to humanity. Our choices become the threads that weave the ever-evolving chapters of the grand story. Regrettably, as human characters, we often stray from the intended path, driven by selfish desires to create our own isolated narratives. In our foolishness, we turn away from the divine masterpiece of beauty and profound significance, unable to grasp the splendor that awaits us. Disregarding the artist, we arrogantly elevate ourselves as the masters of our destinies, a sinful act that blinds us to the greater truth.